This episode was helped brought to you by our newest sponsor, Kalona Brewing Company. They're a brewery out there in Eastern Iowa. So if you're in the area, make sure to stop by Kalona and check out their brewery. Great food at the restaurant there, great beer, obviously. If you're in the Midwest, check out any Hy-Vees. I believe they carry the 6-packs, and they have different types of flavors. So you guys are going to want to, definitely try that out. And I think throughout this whole process, Fishing Kid and myself for Beer Fish Fanatics, we're going to be doing some giveaways here and there. If you guys can go ahead and tag us here and there with your Kalona beer. So other than that, enjoy the episode, guys. Bring it to you.
I'm used to having a headset. That's
there
why.
we go. I can hear you. Nice,
right.
nice, beautiful voice, man.
Sure.
By the way, guys, we're recording. I mean, I'm just FYI.
Okay.
All right. I hope you guys don't mind. And if any swear words, don't worry about it because I say a lot of shit and other words. I usually beep out the rated R words, so we keep it PG-13.
Well,
so
sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm used to not cussing because my fishing channel, I try to keep it like PG.
Yeah.
So I learned to hold back, but I might drop a.
Good times though. Ready?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Welcome to another episode of Beer Fish Fanatics. This is Grandy with Ma Pop Fishing. We got
Kit with the Fishing Kit YouTube channel.
And today, just to kind of give everybody a little heads up, we are not in our basement, in our house. We are somewhere special, honestly. Today, we're actually on site at our sponsor, Kalona Brewing Company. So we decided to, you know what better way than to record in the freaking brewery, right?
Yeah, it's
right?
pretty cool.
This is pretty cool. So we're actually recording right now where the magic happens, they say, where the beer is created and everything. And then we were just thinking, what better way to learn about beer than to have the head brewer himself? So we have Mr. Warren, and how do you say your last name?
Yoder. Warren Yoder.
Yoder. And known as W?
Yes.
Dub?
Yeah. W or Dub. I go by rings of association. People that don't know me call me Warren. People that know me call me W. My close friends call me Dub. My really close friends, I'm not going to tell you what they call me because
It's probably not something nice.
That's okay. We'll have to get offline, and we might be. Well, we'll drink a couple more of these, and then hopefully you can. We'll figure it out,
yeah,
right?
but Dub is fine.
There we go.
Yeah.
Dub.
All right, Dub.
All right, Dub. Thank you for joining us, and I have a lot of questions for you because I pretended to be like I know a lot about beer. I had one of those 5-gallon take-home brew kits, and every time we have people on our show, and I act like I'm the know-it-all of beer. I really don't, but I just talk like I do. So you're gonna fact check me a lot today. Cool?
Well, it's fine, but that's where we all start. I mean, any brewer always started from the home brewing, and for me, it was on top of the kitchen stove, with a kit ordered through the mail and 5 gallons and share it with the friends, and
there we go.
Hopefully they stay friends after that first or second batch. So
I would imagine they're still friends.
true friends would be, yeah.
So it wouldn't be Beer Fish Fanatics if we didn't have some beer to drink, guys. So we're gonna start. Hopefully you can help me. They brought this to us, and this is like a little bit of heaven for me. Like, I mean, part of the pun of heavenly beers brewed, merely for mortals. I am like super excited because you guys all know, the listeners all know how really into craft beer and everything myself and Kid are. So we're when you see us smile cheek, ear to ear is the reason why, because this is good shit, man. So what are we drinking on this one, Dub?
This first one is coffee with Kierkegaard. It's part of our Philosopher series, and what it is the cream ale base, and then we will steep low acidity light roast coffee in for 2 days, and it's a coffee that we get from a local roaster, Cafe del Sol in Iowa City. They're arguably the longest independently owned roaster in the state of Iowa. I won't get into that, but that's just what I read. But they're super, super fantastic people there and very knowledgeable about their coffee and their roasting styles and what they have available to us. Since it's a light roast and a low acidity, it doesn't get in the way with the cream ale because it's a lighter beer, lighter style, smoother finish, and the coffee will come through really nicely on the aroma, and the flavor will be nicely in balance as well. So we do a couple of coffee steeped beers. Startup Stout is our fall release. It's a coffee stout, and that's a medium roast, a little bit more of a robust coffee that will have to stand out because with the stout there's a lot more of a body, a lot more of a mouthfeel. The roast malts, the coffee really has to stand out. So that's just working with the roaster and seeing what coffee style will work with the style of beer. It's really cool.
Okay, yeah. And usually when I picture coffee and beer, I think of something dark, like a stout. So I thought I misheard you, like coffee, and this looks like like a lager or something.
It is. Yeah, cream ale, nice straw color, but it's kind of fun to get the look, and you smell it. You smell that aroma, and it's like a fresh brewed cup of coffee, and then But then the flavor for me, I find it just a nice balance of the finish.
Oh my God, you guys gotta try this, man.
It is pretty smooth.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. It is amazing. I'm not just saying that. It's actually pretty freaking good, man.
Appreciate that. Yeah,
That's really good.
So on that one, we'll just use a German style yeast and just nice and clean. Doesn't get in the way, and falls out to the end really beautifully.
If you don't mind, because our listeners, we have those who just love beer. They love fishing, obviously, a lot. To a normal person who doesn't know how beer is created, can you give step 1 through step 20, whatever the case may be, real quick?
Sure.
What is beer? How is it created? And I guess the biggest question that I would have, or I wouldn't have, but others may have, is like, okay, what's the damn difference between a Busch Light and a craft beer? So, they're wanting to know how it's created and what's the difference.
Look, for me, the largest difference between a craft brew and a domestic brew, like a Busch Light or something like that, is sales, barrels produced, and then for me, craft beer, what's always drawn me to craft beer, the craft beer community, is just the creativity and the personal relationships that are formed throughout the whole process. The process for me is I will drink a beer. I have styles that I like. I have styles that I enjoy, but we all have styles that we like more than others. And within that, I'll sort of break down what I like in a certain style, and then try to use malts that will lend to that taste quality of what I enjoy. Come up with a recipe, and generally, I will come up with a base recipe to start off with, and then tweak it. Brew a 10 to 15 gallon batch of that. Get feedback from in-house. Find what I like. Find what our guys and women that work here, what they like, what they don't necessarily like, because they're not all hits. It's a learning process. It's called research and development beers for a reason. But then we'll get the grains. We'll use the grains, and then we'll use that. We'll steep that in water, bring it in at a temperature, and try to get all the sugars out of that grain, and then bring it over to the boil kettle, and then throw hops in. And they'll give you 3 different things for a beer. The earlier you throw hops in will give you bitterness, and then towards the end of the boil, they'll give you flavor, and then aroma as well at the very end. So really, all beer is, for the most part, is grains, steeped grains from malted barleys, and then hops, water, and yeast. And those are the four main ingredients that you'll have. And then you could do different things. You could add coffees. You can add fruits. You can add other items. I mean, we have all of these dessert pastries that are just the creativity level that you can have in creating a beer and a beer style is just going out of sight with some of these Iowa beers are just fantastic to drink. And
So how do you decide what style of beer you want to brew, and how do you know when it's like, all right, that's the one, it's ready after you've done your testing or whatever?
Well, it all starts with brewing the style, and we have discussions in house, and our salespeople will be on the road, and they'll be forecast. They'll have interaction with customers, patrons, and they'll get feedback as to what people are looking for, what people are asking for, and then we'll also read trade magazines, talk in amongst ourselves, and we'll all have ideas as to what beers we should brew or what styles we should brew, and then with that, we'll make the final decision as to what we go with. And we will brew an R&D style once a week. And so there's never a shortage of what we're trying. Now, sometimes, within that R&D, you'll have hits and misses. Like for the Block Party Hazy, it took me about 8 to 10 brews on that to actually get to the end result of what I was really happy with and what the staff here was really happy with. But then the Hefeweizen horsepower, brewed it twice, and it was already in large batch production. So it's just being familiar with the style, and then also being more familiar with the malts and being in contact with the salespersons, and the trade of what they have to offer, and they're always offering a new style of malts to utilize. And so it comes down to what you like. Starts out with the beers that I like to brew, and then we'll go with that. We'll expand, and then what other people styles that they enjoy, they'll bring in. So we'll just try everything. But I've also found that in a production brewery is so much different than being a home brewer, where I would brew the styles I liked.
Right.
But I like brewing the styles I like, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to sell.
Right.
So you have to take that balance. It's a little bit of a give and take. I know what I love, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be successful in the market. So
is there an example of something that you really like, but for some reason the market just isn't there for it?
Yeah, there is certain brown ales will not. We found that I love brown ales, and if we could have 3 brown ales, English browns or American brown ales on tap at all times, I would do so. But it will, certain beers will sell really well initially, and then they're on to the next. The customer, the consumer is on to the next style. And it's one question we hear a lot, and I'm guessing a lot of other breweries in the state hear from their patrons is, what's new? What do you have that's new? What can we try? We have the solid, steady stand it buys with our Kalona Classic Lager, such and much IPA, but then it's like, well, what more variety? What do you have to offer that you're trying out? So there's always a desire to try something that you haven't tried before, and that's a fun thing. That's a fun challenge for us to try to create that as well.
Right. I think that's what separates, let's say, the Coors Light guys and Bud Light guys versus people that enjoy craft beer. They're more open, like, you know what? I want to try something new, versus the Bud Light guys, like, oh, I only want this and this only, and like in quantity, they'll buy 24 packs. I mean, don't get me wrong. I used to be that guy like 10, 15 years ago until I started drinking craft beer. It's like, okay, there's more to beer than just downing a gallon of beer as fast as I can.
Yeah, and I'm not downplaying any beer that you have in your hand is a good beer. I mean,
right.
I'm not going to say anything bad about
Very true.
domestics. I mean, they have their place, and I enjoy them on occasion in certain places and times. But for us in Washington County, when we started the brewery here, we the original brewer had a light lager recipe that he had to brew, because the number one selling beer in Washington County has been, will be, and always will be Busch Light, and that's just the way it is. And so we had a light lager because we don't sell domestics. We only sell our beers that we make here, and then also we'll have some guest taps for other Iowa breweries and cideries. But our light lager, Kalona Classic, we brewed that just because we had to have something as a bottom rung on the ladder for somebody to try if they like Coors Light, Bud Light, what have you.
That beer that you're talking about, the Kalona Light, it's amazing.
Thank you.
The flavor, because you're right. If anybody who comes here, if you are just adamant, I gotta have a Busch Light or I have a Bud Light, give this a shot. I did that. I've actually given it to people who actually love Busch Light and only Busch Light only. Mm-hmm. But I've given them, try this. You can taste the difference. Literally taste enhancement of the freshness, just the pure taste of it. And they're like, holy shit, that's really damn good. And they're like, yep, I'm gonna drink more of this. Now they understand, they can taste it, like, wow, it pops in your mouth.
Yeah, there's a definite difference between like a craft brewed light lager versus your mass produced light lager, I guess.
Yeah. And again, every beer has its place, and I'm not going to try to compete with them, but it is surprising that our best-selling beer is a light lager, but it speaks to the fact that craft beer can be enjoyed by folks that believe, will say, I'll never drink anything other than a Coors Light or a Bud Light, and then they try that, and then all of a sudden they're trying, Aloha Iowa, Pineapple Belgian, and then we have one guy in town. He went from Budweiser, and now his favorite is Startup Stout. So that's about as far from the starting end of the spectrum as what I could find.
What do we got here now, Dub?
So this is our blueberry wheat. We call it BFFs. It's a blueberry Hefeweizen, so hence the name. But it's one of the fun things that we can do here in the brewery is that we can brew a base beer, the horsepower Hefeweizen, and then we can do one-offs. We could send, we can ferment it and then send 2 barrels or 60 gallons off to one of our smaller tanks we have in the back here, and add Oregon fruit puree, blueberry on this one, and it's been a wonderful beer for us in the summer. I'm not the biggest fan of fruit beers. They have their place, but I'm not. But again, that goes to what my likes are. Doesn't mean that the market likes, are in line with that. So I make what people enjoy, and I enjoy doing that. But it's been a very, very good selling beer for us during the summertime. But it's just one of the freedom of creativity we have is just brewing a style. People love that style, but let's see what we can do to it. Let's see if we can make it a little bit more interesting, a little bit more fun. So.
Working at a brewery, do you guys find yourself drinking a lot more than normal?
That's a good question. And I know that living in Kalona, and I've lived here my whole life, and I still get the jokes, I still get ribbed if I'm out in the community, if I'm somewhere and it's like, oh, looks like they're selling beer here today. Or, but it is a misconception that people have that we're drinking down here all the time. And it's a false one. If I could ever say anything, it is a business, and we have to be aware. It's easy to let yourself go at times, but that's a hard lesson to overcome. We will taste every day, but that's just a small little sample, just to make sure that taste qualities and aroma qualities are still in line. And there are some days on the end of the week that maybe a Friday afternoon we'll have some tastings. We'll bring in some beer. Our salespeople, Christina, our marketing person, I'll bring in different cans or different styles that we find are selling well, or that we might like to share and see. And on a Friday afternoon, we'll pop open a couple of cans and have a group taste it all. But no, we're not drinking beer. We're not crushing pints down here all day.
I can see people's minds thinking like, shit, y'all work at the brewery. Hell yeah, we're going to do nothing but drink, guys.
It's, the cost of product that we have and the cost of the machinery, and then also just the safety concerns that we have. It's just, it wouldn't be very responsible for us, and that's just what our viewpoint is. So.
Well, my vision, my dream of living and just doing nothing but drinking just kind of went away.
Well, they still got a job to do.
That also makes for a really long day.
Yeah, you're right. Very
about
true.
2 o'clock, you're wanting a nap or something like that.
Yeah.
So
very true.
lessons learned,
So what's the hardest thing about brewing beer? Like being a head brewer, what's like your biggest challenge that you face, whether that's daily or weekly or whatever?
One of the just scheduling, and then also forecasting what the market is going to do. There are trade magazines that will say, well, we have a possibility that, lighter beers or lower ABV beers are going to be popular this summer. And then all of a sudden hazies are everywhere. And then New England IPAs. And then, root beer beers were really popular for, about 10 years back. And thankfully that died off. But but it's just the forecasting as to what the style of beer is going to be that people really enjoy. We try to concentrate on bringing a wide variety of styles available on tap here at the restaurant. And our main focus is our restaurant and making sure that we make quality beer for the restaurant taps, and then also quality beer in our cans and in our kegs that go out into the market. And that's the other thing that is probably the biggest thing, is just consistency and making sure that you have quality. And it's very repetitive, but it needs to be done. You clean, you rinse, you sanitize, and then you produce, and then you just repeat. It's a lot of marking off on system, just making sure that you check mark every box along the way, because if you send out a poor product, it can burn you. So, but yeah, I would say just forecasting, and then also making sure consistency of product, and then also during the pandemic, availability of product and equipment and aluminum, and then also supply chain issues that we're having to deal, and then also price. Trying to make a profit.
Yeah.
So since the I guess you say the pandemic's kind of I don't know what's the word, like dying down a little bit. So has there been like a turnaround since like vaccines been out, mandates are being lifted? Has there been like a turnaround as far as like supply and being able to get like, I don't know, ingredients for beer or whatever?
It's starting to ease up. As far as my end, hops and yeast and grains and what I'm using for beer making, I really haven't had an issue outside maybe a couple of times. As far as supply, it's been pretty steady, and you always want to make sure to be on a first name basis and be in contact with your distributors, and just not short yourself on ingredients that you're going to need, 4-5 months down the line. But as far as the packaging, that has been loosening up a little bit. There for a while, aluminum lid ends for cans, and then also cans. We use blank cans, which don't have anything, just a clear aluminum can. So we do wraparound labels. But it was getting to be pretty testy as far as finding availability for that product. But it's starting to loosen up, and it's starting to ease up a little bit. And then in the restaurant, it's been fantastic to see people come back and come strong. It seemed like as quickly as spring hit. People wanted to get out, and people are getting out. And now that the mask mandates have been lifted for us a week ago, so staff doesn't have to wear a mask. Vaccinations are happening, and we've been pretty fortunate down here.
And I gotta, for all our listeners and watchers and everybody, you guys have to check this restaurant out. Fishing Kid and myself came up here. I actually brought my family. My daughter had her birthday here. The food is amazing. You guys really should come check this out. You got about 20 minutes, I think, south of Iowa City, 20 miles or so. I'm going to be coming back. Obviously, I'm a huge Hawkeye fan, so I'll definitely come down here, and the food is definitely amazing. The pizza here is pretty cool. I'm a huge wood oven guy, so that's what they have here. So you guys definitely got to check that out. I wanted to ask you, Lauren, because I heard, I don't know, because was CO2 an issue with you guys at all by chance? Because I know in Des Moines, there was a few breweries down there that I spoke with, and they were like, CO2 was very difficult to come by, during the pandemic. It was kind of crazy. But did you guys run into that at all, or?
We did not. Our supplier, again, that goes in line with being in contact with your supplier. We were fortunate, no, and I know that there was a CO2 issue with some in the business, but we did not have that.
See, I know some shit about beer. So what that was, so CO2. What CO2 does, you're going to hopefully correct me if I'm right. So CO2 helps carbonate the actual beer. So it force feeds it in a way so it's quicker instead of natural priming. Because when I think I spoke in a couple episodes, like actually earlier episodes, natural priming is when you let sugar naturally carbonate itself. But when you have CO2, it literally cuts it probably 2-3 weeks, maybe even a month in time, because you instantly carbonate the beer. So all you need to do is once it's carbonated, just chill it if you drink it cold. Versus letting it natural prime, which takes 2 to 3 weeks sometimes, right?
Something priming sugar for a home brewer would take 2 weeks after bottling till you could get full carbonation. But for us, you bring it over, it's post fermentation. We put it in the carbonation tanks or the tax determination vessels and do a straight inline carbonation while it's cold. But carbonation has to be cold. But then we'll also do carbonation. We'll also use CO2 to keep on head pressure once our fermentation happens in the tanks. We'll use CO2 head pressure to send beers from tank to tank as well.
See, I'm a half beer nerd.
No oxygen.
Somewhat. I know a little bit.
You got it.
See, it was good, man. Now we're gonna have to ask you about the hydrometer shit, because there was a question about that, and
I don't know what that is.
That's that little we were talking about.
Is that the alcohol thing?
Yeah, it tells you the alcohol content at the end. Well, it predicts it, right?
Yeah. Right? What we have is when you form a recipe, depending on if you want to stay within guidelines of of the beer recipe, or what is there are guidelines that the GABF has within certain styles. And so what a hydrometer does in really easy terms, it tell you how much available sugar is in your beer or in your wort. So you're trying to get sugars, and sugar amounts will affect your alcohol percentage. So when you go on brew day and I'm sending wort, which is unfermented beer, into my fermentation tank, that's when I'm steeping that grain in the water in the mash tun. I'm trying to get as many sugars out of those grain kernels that I can. And then, so that sugar is boiled and then sent to the fermentation tank. And then the hydrometer, when you fill it up, and it'll tell you specific gravity. And it'll give you an idea. It'll tell you how much available sugar is there for the yeast that you pitch.
OG. Not original gangster.
Original gangster.
Now there are some we still do gravity points. There are some breweries that do bricks and other methods of measuring that. But that will pretty much tell you your starting sugar and your ending sugar. So OG, TG, terminal gravity as well.
Cool. And we had a podcast that we saw OG. What the hell is an OG? And I actually remember that. And the wort thing. So people are wondering what the wort is. It's unfermented. So when you say unfermented, it hasn't been sitting long enough to ferment.
Yes.
So that they call it a wort.
Is that just like where all your ingredients are together?
You cooked it and it's sitting. It's right before you actually let it ferment.
Is that like a mash? Is that another word for it, or is that a different one?
No, mash is the process that you use to take the sugars from the grains.
Okay.
Wort is simply just unfermented beer.
Okay.
Sugar water.
We're getting learned, man. We're getting learned.
For real.
And when you say OG, I'm old enough to be an original gangster.
Oh boy! Cheers to that. Just because of that, we're doing. Okay, so we got the third beer. What is this one?
Regulators mount up. This is our Hazy IPA block party. So this is a lot of wheat, Pilsner malts, and then it is a lot of hops as well. So we'll use Mosaic and Citra. We'll do that at our Whirlpool post-boil, and then I'll send it over there, ferment it out, add Mosaic and Citra again during fermentation, just to get some biotransformation. That helps with the juiciness, the citrus flavors in that beer, and then finish it up with Citra Mosaic again on the dry hop, and then do little one-offs on this as well, utilizing some other aroma hops, Idaho 7, Strata, Galaxy at times, if you can find it. But
I feel like I know IPAs, but at the same time, this might seem like a dumb question, but so what's the difference between a hazy IPA and a regular IPA?
There are so many. There are a few different. I mean, that's a loaded question. There are
What are the key differences?
So such a much would be considered like a hybrid West Coast IPA, where you have a little bit more bitterness on the front. Hazy or New England IPA will not eliminate, but it will dial back the bitterness on the front edge. It'll be bitter enough to be an IPA, but it will also have a lot more of an aroma and flavor hops in it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just plus its cloudiness and the yeast that you use will lend to that flavor.
That makes sense because when I tell people if they're interested in IPAs and stuff, I always tell them, start with a hazy IPA because I feel like it's not as bitter, but I guess it kind of makes sense now.
Or session. I usually tell session
too.
Like it's a little lighter. It's not as heavy in alcohol content too, I think. I don't know. You tell me.
The one thing that I find is that it's not going. I don't believe it's going to go away. It's going to be here to stay a while. But it's an IPA that normally IPA drinkers. If people don't like IPAs, normally they don't like the bitterness of the hops, and so they don't like that. I've heard so many times it's like I'm sorry, I don't like IPAs because I just don't like the hops. But this style, I've found a lot of people who don't necessarily drink IPAs will drink this style and really enjoy it.
See, the weird thing, I love IPAs now. When I first started drinking craft beer, he would just bring over random stuff, and I'm like, man, he brought those IPAs. I feel like I'm drinking a pine tree or something. That was my allegory.
hearing that progression in beer drinkers is fun.
Right.
I like hearing that.
So by the end of this episode, guys, if I start slurring, it's okay because my wife is going to drive me home.
I was just going to ask.
Yeah.
You have a driver to
Oh,
go
yeah.
back to Des Moines?
He'll just have to follow us.
But I'm going fishing after this.
There you go. So speaking of
I
fishing,
got some time to kill.
Yeah.
speaking of fishing,
Yes.
well, okay, I guess we might as well talk a little bit about fishing.
Yeah, we gotta squeeze in a little bit of it.
So spring bite. Well, I'll ask you first, Kit. I mean, so how spring bite, man? How's it been for you? And we'll ask Warren. I mean, how's because we don't get a chance to fish in this area. If you can tell us a little bit about the fishing, here in this area too, if you don't mind. But I just jumped from Kit to you, so I don't know. Just Kit, sorry.
No, that's fine.
Go ahead, go first, man.
This spring's been really weird. Like our weather, I'm pretty sure as you have seen, our weather has been really weird. It's been super windy, super dry. Like the past 2 months, we barely got any rain. I'm pretty sure it's pretty similar to what you've been having in this area.
We've been really windy, but we've had rainfall a lot. It was super dry early and then really, really a lot of rain. It's about like every 2 days there's a huge storm that comes.
Yeah, this past week it's been like rain every day.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like it's such a big contrast. So, and then the temperatures at night up until like this past week have been high 30s, 40s, and normally I think our average temps during this time of year is mid 60s, low 70s, but it's been, I don't know, high 50s, low 60s. So the fish are just like, what the heck's
They're
going
confused.
on? So like normally you pattern fish by seasons. Like, okay, during this time of year, the fish are going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
But this year, since the weather's all crazy, like where you would normally find the fish, they're not there this year. So I don't know. Everything's weird. The fish don't know what to do. Anglers don't know what to do either.
So try something different, right? I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, like you would normally say they're going to be shallow. Crappies or panfish are going to be shallow right now, but you might be right. Some might be deeper. Some might be shallow. Just try something different.
Yeah, it's you can't rely on patterns too much this year, but weather's leveling off. We're getting consistent rain. Temps are up. It's like 85 degrees today, I think is the high.
Pretty close.
Humidity's getting up, so things are hopefully leveling off, and then you can kind of try to predict where the fish are going to be versus like last week. Man, I'll go out to one lake, like, oh, the fish are super shallow, they're spawning, because it's that time of year once water temps and the photo period, which is the length of daytime during the day is, well, I guess that never changes, but but the temps affect their spawning too. But one lake I'll go to, the fish are like 1 foot of water. Next lake I go to, I can't find fish between like 1 foot to 20 foot. Like, yeah, they don't know what to do. It varies by body of water. I don't know. It's been a tough year.
Okay. So I'm going to try all kinds of new shit this time right now because you're right. One day I thought I had to figure it out, and the next day, or actually like 3-4 days in a row, skunk.
Yeah.
I got skunk.
Yeah,
so
even the same same body of water. You go there one day, the fish are shallow.
Yeah.
You go back the next day. All right, I'm gonna slay them,
Yep.
and they are not there.
Yep. It's crazy. How about you, Warren? I mean, how's fishing here? What do you like to fish for, and what has it been like this spring?
This year is, well, once morel season, mushroom season gets over, then we can concentrate on fishing. But when you talk about the temperatures at night, that's what morel hunters look for. But
Right, because the soil temps and
yeah,
stuff.
you want
Yep.
the soil temperatures, it's like 4 or 5 nights in a row above 50 degrees, and they're going to pop. But anyway, the fishing for me, my experience in this area is we have a pond where I live just south of town. There's a pond in back, and so it's stocked with bass and crappies and catfish. So I like to fish. I've really gotten back into it the last couple of years since we've gotten that, and using Dad's old Cabela, rod and reel, and bobber and a worm. That's about how I go. But what you say is the depth as well. We were fishing last night and about 4 or 5 o'clock, and started out about 18 inches under the bobber and nothing, and then lowered it to about 24, 26 inches below, and bam, hit a 4 pound bass and a nice cat, and then just crappies are just sort of hanging out in the bank. But it's just a relaxing way to spend a day. That's always been my belief. And every once in a while we'll have some friends and we'll have a fish off, and then we'll go and crappies and bluegills, and then fillet them, and then bread them, and boil them, or put them into oil, and then just have a party. So that's always a fun day.
Fish fry. That's my kid's favorite thing. It's like, I wish I was a better fisherman, because then I could feed them consistently. I don't feed my kids consistently in regards to fish. He's always been my backup over there. So I do the best I can, and then it's just hilarious. I mean, if you get a chance to talk to my kids, they'll be like, "Yeah, Dad, you suck today." You're like, "Yeah, thanks, honey. I brought like 3 fish home." They're 4 daughters, and they're like, "Where's Uncle Kit?" Because then they'll know to eat. So I get, "Where's Uncle Kit?" Because they literally like, "Was Uncle Kit with you fishing?" Well, next time you gotta tell him to go fishing with you. So that's the I guess, like you said, he's my backup plan in regards to that.
I don't always catch fish. Don't get it like twisted or anything. But I think I pull through 90% of the time.
Yeah. So we're also on this episode. We're definitely going to get Christina on. I want you guys to get a chance to talk with her and meet with her. We're going to get to know her a little bit better, and I want to know a little bit more about the city, the brewery, and everything. But we definitely want to have Warren on here to kind of give us a little background about beer, understanding it, and everything on that. I know you have a wedding to go to, so we don't want to hold you too long. But you know what? Thank you so much for just giving us the time and opportunity to drink some beer with you. You got anything else for him, Kit?
I don't know. I feel like every time I talk to beer people, I always want to pull people over from the mass-produced light lager stuff. So what do you have to say to those people to maybe, like, they're kind of on the fence? Mm-hmm. Like, maybe there's some, what would you say to your Coors Light guy to have him make that jump from Coors to Kalona Classic?
Before you answer, I want to say this. I don't mean to cut you off. Sorry about that. But the biggest thing is supporting local. And, Fishing Kit and myself, this podcast and everything, we always are about supporting small businesses and local. I think that's number one. To me, it's like when I tell people, like, dude, it's not just because it's better beer. It's also because you're supporting a local business, to me. So that would be my biggest thing that I tell anybody who's like, you're drinking Ambev. I hope Ambev. People know they're not from America, by the way. They were bought out by another company. They're huge,
big conglomerate.
Exactly. Yeah. So just to give everybody a heads up on that. And then number 2, like I said, support local businesses. That was my biggest spiel that I tell anybody. Like, I'm not a beer snob. I am a beer snob, but it's just one of those things. I love supporting local breweries, and that's just my thoughts. But sorry to interrupt, but what would you say, Warren, in regards to bring them over? Bring them over to the, I wouldn't say the dark side. Bring them
the light side.
Yeah, you should.
No, they're already in the dark side.
There you go.
Well, I won't go that far. I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But the one thing that I do is I don't try to force it on anybody because you're going to get a negative response on that. Just be open and just say, hey, it's a good beer that you're drinking. It's nothing wrong. But watch, it's a great beer. It's consistent wherever you get.
There's a reason why it sells so well.
But the one thing I like to do is bring them a style and just say, okay, taste this compared to what you're drinking right now, and just the differences, the nuances, and the differences are, and then also try to bring them a style, or try to find. One thing I like to do is try to find them a style that they do like. Is it a Pilsner, or is it a Hefeweizen, or is it a Honey Hefeweizen, or is it a Bock? Shiner Bock is a good example. That it's a style that could be considered craft beer, German Bock, but then it's mass produced in Texas. But just trying to be open, that they not judge them, not judge them by what they're drinking, but just try to tell them, like, hey, if you like that style, maybe you like this, and try to kill them with kindness. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to bash them for what they drink.
You definitely don't want to. I never want to judge somebody on what they're drinking or what they're eating or what, but just say, hey, if you like that, maybe you'll like this too. And yeah.
Yep.
Like Mama said, you attract a lot more bees with sugar than salt.
I mean, the cool thing is we've gotten a lot of listeners who've actually have opened their horizons. So that's kind of cool. I think them listening to us and watching us try these different beers, so they're actually opening to it. And keep doing it, man. Support small businesses, and then on top of that, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's freaking better beer, guys. I'm just saying, it tastes better than that stuff. that you
And then
drink.
the money stays in the community.
Yes.
Yeah,
the
you
biggest
have a
thing.
connection with
Yes.
somebody who is actually making the product that you're consuming, or making the beer that you're drinking, and it's a sense of pride for people in Kalona. That's like, I don't know how many people I've ran into over the state over the 7-8 years that we've been doing this. It's like, I never realized that Kalona had a brewery, and it's like, I never realized, it brings them a reason to come down here, and it's neat to see on the in the summertime and spring and fall that the downtown of a city of Kalona, which is like 2,500 people, it's busy, it's packed. I mean, this town is full, and it's neat to see license plates lining the streets, that aren't Washington or Johnson or our county. So
That's cool.
it brings a lot of people that would never have come to Kalona, and that's cool.
That's awesome.
I get a kick out of that.
So, what days? You're probably brewing every day or whatever days you are. So when people come swing by here, what days, if they get a chance, hey, I saw that guy or I listened to him on these, the idiot fisherman BFF guys podcast.
Yeah.
We just want to say hi. Thanks for the beer. Can they swing by here? Is that okay? Or
Yeah, we're generally here in production Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. And
Perfect. Okay.
the restaurant is open Wednesday through Sunday. And 11 to 9-ish, or they have different closing hours depending on the nights of the week. But Christine would be a better person to talk to about that.
Sounds good. So, other than that, man, thank you so much for the knowledge on
Absolutely.
that. Dub, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll find out his other nickname, guys. Don't worry. Sooner or later.
I will never tell.
Oh, dang. But you know what we'll do? We'll get him out fishing one day, and we'll find out.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Fair enough. So, thank you so much, Warren. And then we'll get Christine here, and then we'll continue on.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you for joining us at Beer Fish Fanatics. And this episode is actually brought to you by Whisker Seeker Tackle.
So make sure you guys go to whiskerseeker.com for all your catfishing gear.
Check. Can you hear me?
Hello, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah,
So,
I'll put on my radio voice.
don't worry.
Let me put on my radio face.
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Actually, we're being recorded, so it's not as.
Oh, it's always.
It's
We'll
true.
probably squeeze it in somewhere.
It's not
Yeah,
the
well,
same.
we might put in the blooper video. We have a lot of blooper, or at least I have a lot of blooper stuff. That's pretty. Fun.
What's the saying? I have a face for radio.
Wow.
I have heard that. Yes.
All right, so everybody, we're back here at Kalona, Iowa, at the Kalona Brewing Company here, and we are drinking such a much on this one. Just this is actually one of the better IPAs that I've had in a while. I like it. I don't know, Kit.
It's an IPA. I like IPAs.
There you go.
You'd have to be doing something terribly wrong for me to not like an IPA. But
There you
I
go.
like this one.
Agreed. And now we actually have Christina joining us here from Kalona Brewing.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And I was gonna say, I was gonna say your last name, but I was telling Kid I'm gonna butcher the shit out of it. So I'm gonna let you
Do
go
you
ahead
want to
and
try just for fun?
I really
no,
don't.
It's Patramanis.
Patramanis. Oh, not too hard.
Yeah.
Christina
It has a lot
Christina
of
Patramanis.
syllables. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, my last name has, I guess, only 3. But when people look at it, they're like, what the heck?
What is it?
Ponsavat. But it's spelled P-H-O-N-E-S-A-V-A-T-H. When people see it, they're like totally confused. Like, well, it's because the H's throw everybody off.
Yeah.
There's 2 H's and they're both silent. So,
Yeah, in 4th grade, my best friend was Malapon Potason.
oh,
And
sounds like
she
a Laos
had-
name.
Yeah,
Malapon from
yeah, Des Moines.
Des Moines?
Yeah.
Holy shit, we got a small world. All right.
You know her?
You're gonna have to, okay, Malapon, you know who I am. You're gonna have to tell her that she's gonna have to listen to this podcast. She'd be like, yeah, I know him from knee high.
I've totally lost touch since I was 4th grade.
Oh.
I've lost touch. Oh, I'm so
right.
excited. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
this could be the contact.
Really?
Right
There you
I'm
go.
so
No.
happy. Hey, Mel.
I've known her pretty much from knee high. Yeah, crazy. Small world. There you go. Interesting. So, but anyways, we have Christina here. She's part of Kalona Brewing, and I wanted her on here because I want you to talk a little bit more about Kalona Brewing, Kalona the city, if people are wondering, because it is a smaller city, but it's really cool because this is the first time that I actually brought my family out here, and it's really cool. It's unique. It's a small city outside of Iowa City, about approximately 20 minutes, 20 miles south, right?
Yes, yeah. It doesn't take too long to get. It's southeast.
Southeast.
Like
all right.
this east, yeah.
Tell us.
Southwest,
So
southwest.
what is Kalona Brewing, and what is it about the city? What makes it unique? What is it that we're drinking that is badass to everybody who tries it out?
Well, okay. So, Kalona was started in the mid 1800s, and it really became a place because it got the railroad line, right? So it's supposed to be Richmond, but it's Kalona. Sorry, Richmond. And an Amish and Mennonite community developed here. So it's still a very large Amish and Mennonite community.
Okay.
Now, they're not big drinkers, really. But we had some residents who lived in Kalona and knew a lot about beer and wanted to start a business. And one of them had brewed across the country, and he was a home brewer, our founding brewer, who's named Lou Brewer. That's true. That's really his
Go
last
figure,
name.
right? Yep.
I know. So Lou said to his friends Ted and Becky Nagy, they talked and they decided to start a brewery. Well, where do we start it? Well, we live in Kalona. I think the residents thought they maybe were a little, they'd lost it a little bit, but they did it. And this was 7.5 years ago when there were only 40 breweries in the state of Iowa. Now you're pushing 115.
Dang.
So this was early on in the craft brewery world. So it makes Kalona a special place because it's not a place where you expect to have a brewery. But really it makes sense because it connects with the agriculture of the area. We use local honey. We use local whenever we can. We have a restaurant that is essential. I think they go together because the restaurant uses local dairy, eggs, greens, grass-fed beef. And so it's that same idea that we are hyper-local, we're engaging in the community, and we're using good things, right? That's is incredibly important to the founders and to the owners and to the brewers currently and the chef, that it's good food, it's good beer, it's as true to style as possible, and that and I think that also speaks to our, I don't want to say personalities, but our general thought process on approaching the world. I think here we really have a family mentality, and it's more important to us to do good than it is to just be big. But I still think we've done okay because we distribute across eastern Iowa and central Iowa. So
that's pretty cool because nowadays I feel like people actually care about where the food and the drinks that they consume is coming from. Like maybe, I don't know, 15 years ago people didn't really care. I'm just drinking beer or I'm just drinking whatever food. But now, since I guess the information age, like people care about where's this beer I'm drinking, where do the ingredients come from. This avocado toast that I had earlier today, people, now I'm like, oh, the eggs came from here. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
That sausage bacon pizza is badass, man. And the eggs on it, I'm like, holy shit, man. I was like, oh, it's so
Kalona
good.
chickens make good eggs. They're free. They're running around. They're eating grass. They're happy. I assume they're happy. I haven't met the chickens personally. Some people have here, but I'm guessing they're happy. Their eggs taste like they're happy.
It's amazing food. It was really damn good. We came here and I don't know what to expect. I lived in Iowa all my life, but I haven't been in this area, so it was really cool to kind of just see. It's just a little bit different from Des Moines, aspect and everything. So it was kind of cool. And then, like I said, just trying to do foods here. I'm a foodie guy. I lived in California for many years, so I'm pretty picky on my food. So, like I said, you guys gotta try it out. It's pretty damn good.
Thank you. And when you come, if you like vintage or antiques or quilting, you will be in heaven. It's heaven. I like vintage. I'm a vintage person, and collectible. I'm like, oh, the glass is blue with white dots, and I love that stuff. I'm really into it. And for me, you hold on a little bit of history when you have those things. So I have a lot of fun in Kalona too.
Cool. That's cool. Do you mind telling us what do you guys have coming up for we had the pandemic. The pandemic is still, in a sense, still kind of going on. What's the future, or what's 2021 looking like for Kalona Brewing? What's your guys' vision? Do the goals. What are we looking to do? Where are you guys going to be? I guess in a sense, what are you guys looking to do in 2021?
Well, 2020 was an interesting year, but it was a good time to think forward.
Okay.
So, from an events perspective, I'll start there. There are a lot of musicians who did things virtually, but they want to play, they want to do gigs, they want to be live. Mm-hmm. And I love live music, and I love a range of live music. I like hip hop, I like country, I like pop, I like folk, Americana. So I try and bring as much of that as I can into our brewery.
Okay.
So we are going to get to see, again, every month, once a month, second Sunday music at 6 o'clock. We will have live music, and we'll have extremely talented performers, because Iowa and the Midwest is filled with good performers, more than I could ever possibly book, even if I booked every week.
Agreed.
So we'll keep doing that. We have live trivia. We just started again. It's the third Thursday of every month. So you can come and sit with your friends and drink beer and win prizes and play trivia and have that community going again, which is good. And then we're going to start brewing. So we had focused on core beers mostly for 2020. Mm-hmm. We had some in the marketplace that were pop-ups, like Quick Wit, Belgian Wit.
Yeah,
but
saw that.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I've seen it.
That's a good beer.
Yeah.
That's a good beer. People compare it to Blue Moon, but it's more, it's different from Blue Moon.
To me, it was smoother.
It's smooth, yeah.
I felt it was smoother, but
smooth.
Are you guys bringing that, is it going to be continuing?
It'll continue, yeah.
Okay,
It'll
cool,
come back.
cool.
Yep, it's on
Cool,
tap
okay.
right now. It's on tap, and sometimes it
Nice.
gets canned. So it kind of depends. How do we feel that day? We have we get to be a how do we feel that day brewery, which is kind of special, because when you get really big, you can't do that. You have to plan way down the line. So we like that. So Quick Wit. So we had the Such Much, for sure, the classic, the Horsepower Hefeweizen, and now we get to bring back our free-range Honeycolsh Ale. It's so beautiful. It's really light and crisp. It's brewed with honey from Ebert Honey, which is in Mount Vernon. So local bees are making it.
Yeah, every time I have to buy honey from the store, I always look for local honey. It just tastes different.
Yeah.
You can. I mean, is it cliche for me to say you can taste the difference?
No, you're right.
Someone's
No, because
type.
my wife, he was the same way. My wife's the same way. She goes, when we buy honey, we always buy it locally.
Yeah.
We go to the farmer's market, and that's where we buy our honey, and it's usually from somebody locally or in Iowa. It's like you're just saying, it's just weird. I don't know if it just tastes better. I don't know what it is. Maybe because it's not too processed. I don't know.
Some people say it's good too if you have allergies.
Yeah, because
Yes.
it's like the local flora
Yes.
Right.
is in the honey.
That's it. I think that's what she said. Yep, you're right. I think you guys are.
That's probably that's now that I think of it, that's probably the biggest difference. You don't realize it when you're just eating oh, it's honey or whatever.
Yeah.
But then when you get into the nuances of it, I guess kind of like beer too. If you're just casually drinking beer, beer tastes like beer. But then once you, I guess, dive into it, you can start noticing the difference between beers and stuff.
It's true, because it's the products.
Mm-hmm.
It's what's in there.
Yeah.
It's that ingredient quality.
You appreciate it.
You appreciate it, and you learn to discern it. Even the water quality is a big
you're
deal.
right.
It really is. So.
Yeah.
So how do you tackle a new market? Let's say, I don't know what market Kalona Brewing sells their cans in, because I know we can find your stuff in Des Moines. Let's say, I don't know, Western Iowa. Have you guys breached into that market yet? How do you tackle a new market, and what do you decide? Okay, we're gonna bring these beers to this area. What's the thought process behind that?
Well, personally, I like to go into the area and hang out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in Des Moines this weekend and just hang out and see what people are drinking, what they're doing, what their interests are, what other breweries are there, and then decide how do we approach this market. So, in Southeast Iowa, there's a real love of light lagers, So we have this great campaign with Jesse, who's from Southeast Iowa. It's called Dang Delicious. It's on YouTube. It's pretty fun. And we actually recorded it at Jim Ray Farms in Kalona, where we get our grass-fed beef.
Oh, okay.
And so really it speaks to people that love light lagers, and we focus on that, and we'll bring in other products, but we want people to be happy. In Des Moines, there's definitely an IPA scene. There's a lot of experimentation with ales. Lagers are growing there. So there's a lot of stuff. So I think, when I look at Des Moines, I think, fun. It can be really active. Our beer is in cans, so you can put it in your backpack and you can take it hiking with you, or you can take it fishing with you,
Yes, you can.
Yes. Whenever you're in the outdoors, take cans over bottles, because bottles break.
Because they float. Do they float?
Okay,
I'm just kidding.
I don't know. But take it back with you.
Yeah,
That's the
either
biggest
way,
thing.
take it back with
yeah,
you,
take it
but-
back. When you take it fishing, take it back with you guys. Because I've been collecting a lot of.
At least with cans, you can,
I
stomp
meant like
on
if
them.
it falls overboard, like your can.
Well,
if you-
that floats too,
That's
right?
what
I
I'm
think it
saying.
floats, right? I don't know.
If
Does
they're
it?
not open, they'll float.
Wait, is it?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Yes,
what I
you're
meant.
right.
That
Yes.
was the joke, but it got
It just went completely
so
over
flat. I'm
fishing
sorry.
kits in my head. We are idiots. I'm sorry.
Yes, keep our waterways clean. We need that in
Yes.
Iowa. That is definitely. I live by a creek, and man, I'm always
You'd be surprised, right?
stuff out of the creek. I know.
But the stuff you see, I was like, what the?
I know.
How the
Frogs are gonna have so many heads pretty soon.
We go fishing all the time, and it never surprises us. It's sad, but it never surprises us that stuff. We're like, what the heck? You could have just taken it. It was your stuff that you opened, and you just left it there. Just take it with you. It's not that big of a deal.
Oh, here's one thing I noticed about like beer cans, beer bottles, and stuff. I mean, it's not going to be like the rule generally, but whenever I see like a box of cans of beers, it's usually never craft beer.
True.
Yeah, and craft beer, you can get a 6-pack or a 12-pack.
Yeah, you can.
Or a 24
You're right.
pack of craft beer. And here's the thing, you're gonna be drinking that beer all day long. So drink the best beer. that
Enjoy
you
it.
can- Is it just the body is usually a little bit better. The taste is
It is.
better. It's local ingredients often. I don't know. It just like
Yeah, I don't want to sound like beer snobby, but I feel like environmental wise, the craft beer drinkers are they put a lot more thought into the beer that they drink, because I'm part of a whole bunch of fishing groups, and they'll show a picture of like trash everywhere. It's like 30-pack of Busch Light, or a 30-pack of Keystone, or a 30-pack of whatever Bud Light. You don't ever see like, oh, this guy drinking Kalona such a much IPAs, trashing the place. His beers are all over the place. It's
Very
always
true.
these.
You're right.
craft drinkers recycle.
Damn
We're
it.
very responsible.
See, we're
people.
badass, all right? Just so y'all know, man.
I'm pretty sure there's a few craft beer drinkers that just trash the place, but
No.
they're not as. Yeah, you don't see it. You don't see it as much. You don't see it as much.
I will tell you, craft brewers are the people who work in the craft beer industry, at least in Iowa, are obsessed with beer. We're obsessed with beer. And there's so many styles.
Yes.
So I think that sets us apart too. We don't go to work and brew the same thing every day, right? So we're always thinking about it. We're always talking about it. And people give us ideas, and then we do them, which is kind of amazing because you get to see your idea.
So like the market, you could say, kind of can influence what you guys make.
Oh, absolutely, directly.
Directly,
There
huh?
are two ways to go. You can guide the market, or the market can guide you. And I think the more that you communicate and interact, the better beer you're gonna have, and
Yeah.
the better experience individuals are gonna have. And you can really do that, especially in Iowa.
Right.
And if you go to, we're going to have Iowa Craft Beer Festival August 7th for the Iowa Brewers Guild in Des Moines at Waterworks Park, and you can meet those brewers and meet the people at the tents and
That's so cool.
give them your ideas.
Probably be there. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure we'll be there.
I
I'm
hope
pretty
we'll
sure
be
we'll
there.
be there.
Can you talk about this Iowa Brewers Guild?
Guild, yeah.
So like that's that's not specific to like Kalona Brewing. It's just like a group of different brewers that come together. Am I correct in saying that?
It's a business guild that's been around since 2010.
Okay.
So we have close to 115 breweries in Iowa, and 107 of them are Brewers Guild members. So, no, they pay dues, but then what we get to do is we get to work together to promote craft beer in Iowa. We get to work on legislation, which helps craft beer in Iowa, which is huge because that's always growing and changing. Like this year, we are now able to, we have third-party delivery, which is new. You can have a second tap room. People can order online from your brewery, and then they can bring it to your door.
okay.
That's all new. It's been really wonderful. And then the third part is education. So we educate our brewers. We have if they want, we have different events that they can come. They can learn about barrel aging from experts. They can learn about off flavors. They can learn about forecasting in the industry, how to market your beer, like what you're looking for in a brand, how to keep your brand consistent, like what hops are popular right now, all of those things, malt experts. So we're keeping Iowa beer quality very high and very consistent, and so that's what the Brewers Guild does. Is we decided to work together to make that happen.
That's pretty cool.
That's really cool. I think, yeah, like I saw the board, like, because you're on it, right?
I'm on it, yeah.
Yeah.
Right now I'm the role of position of secretary. So.
That's so cool. Yeah, because you see all the different like the breweries, like they're all like on the board. It's so cool to kind of see you guys' minds all coming together in a way.
Yeah, we have seven different breweries represented on the board. So
Nice.
and all great people. So it's really exciting.
Cool.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm wondering, like, how does Iowa's market compare to, let's say, Missouri or Kansas, one of our surrounding states? Like, I'm pretty sure some are more, I don't know if robust is the good word, but involved than others. I would imagine, like, maybe Iowa has the best craft brew market compared to our surrounding states. I don't know. Like, do you guys look at other markets within our surrounding area?
We do. We look across the country. So I can't answer the statistics for every state, but I know
Right.
that we are selling about 7% of Iowa craft beer in the state. So the whole state has about 15% in craft beer sales. Out of all the beer sold, 15%, and Iowa craft beer is around 7%.
Okay.
So you can look at that as high, or you can look at that as low.
Okay.
Just try to figure that out. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's high for small businesses,
Okay.
but it's low for the goal, right? We think it's great if there's so much good Iowa craft beer, you get your bud and then get an Iowa craft beer along with it, try something else. Compared to other states, it depends where you are. Illinois has so many craft breweries that it's just going to be higher. And then someone was saying they're hyper local, like they're brewing essentially for their neighborhood. So in
Wow.
Chicago, right?
It's like right, and then wow, so like a block or two away, you can just.
Right.
That's crazy.
Right.
Think about that, yeah.
But we also, we have some great big breweries here. We have Toppling Goliath, we have Confluence, we have Big Grove, we have Exile. I know I'm missing some, but bigger breweries too that are like really competitive, I think, with other states. And then you have places like in Oregon that have a huge market share of craft beer. Just because it's already part of the culture, I think, or it has been part of the culture for a longer time. And you have the microbreweries, and then you have much larger breweries. So it really depends on the population.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me really quick? I guess you say last question. All right, what's the difference between a microbrewery and a craft? I know the difference because I'm pretty sure there's other people who are thinking this though. But what's the difference between a microbrewery and a craft brewery?
So a microbrewery means you're under a certain number of barrels, and I can't tell you that number, but it's
I forgot it too. No,
yeah, you're not doing 50,000 barrels a year.
Okay.
We're at about 12 to 1,500 barrels a year.
Okay.
So we could be considered a microbrewery. Yeah. And
Okay.
then there are nano breweries. There are breweries in the state that do 1-2 barrels.
So those are even smaller than a
Smaller.
microbrewery.
Smaller nano,
Okay.
and they're selling just in their tap room. They're probably not packaging. If you want to take that out, you better get a growler or a crowler because
Okay.
it is really, really extremely special. And the craft, there's a definition for independent brewery, which we are. It's based on the ownership. but there's not, to my knowledge, and I was just talking about this with the board, a definition for craft. And so you will see some very large companies buy out craft companies and use that brand as craft.
Oh.
So,
But they're technical. Yeah, okay, I see what
they can say it, sure, because I think it's the experimental qualities, maybe the ingredients used, the process. And W was talking about R&D, research and development, that process, the offerings. But that's a good point, because we should all work together and decide what is craft.
Right.
That'd be good. Be interesting.
It's
I just
kind of.
wondered. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like, I wouldn't say Wild West, but it's kind of unexplored territory still. Like the word craft.
Yeah, and we can do that together, and that's the great thing about craft, is that we are making this community. Yeah.
Cool.
So can I ask you guys a question?
Sure. Go right
Sure.
ahead. Oh,
All right.
all
Oh,
Okay.
the tables have turned.
Okay. So I'm kind of new to fishing. I've been listening to your podcasts.
Okay.
I've been learning about lures and all sorts of things.
Okay.
And it seems, you have to have this for this fish and this for that fish and this for that weather. If I just want to go out and I just want to start, because I don't fish very much, what do I need absolutely to take with me right now at this time of year in my kit?
Kit, I'll let you answer.
Okay. Well, you need a rod and reel first.
Okay. Any good, decent rod?
Yeah, whatever you can cast, because there's different types of reels, and they require different types of, I guess, input. Like a spinning reel, they call them open face reels too. You flip a bail and you kind of cast it out. Bait casters, they're kind of the more advanced type of reel, because the spool spins freely, and you need to be able to dial. Like, you basically need to tune in.
I've
That,
used that one.
yeah, and then there's
It's
a
intense.
spin cast, which is kind of like a hybrid between those two. So whatever you're comfortable, like whatever type of reel you're comfortable casting with, there's arguments to be made which one's best, which one's not. Is the best reel that for you is whatever you can cast.
Yeah.
And then
So honestly, I would say spinning if you're first starting, because that way you don't have to worry about backlash or anything like that. We can get into that later. But spinning reel, you shouldn't. You just open up the bail like he was saying. You just cast it and just let it go, and it'll just be fine. You just close the bail. That's it.
Okay.
I
Good.
mean, I
That's
feel like
helpful.
that's probably the
That's
easiest.
helpful, yeah.
And then as far as like line goes, I would say 8-pound line, 6 to 8 pound line. If you're looking, if you're trying to piece together a kit yourself, I mean, you're kind of, like you said, you don't know anything about fishing. If you're looking at piecing together your own kit, I'd say grab whatever reel you're comfortable with casting. And as far as rod goes, I would say probably like a medium light.
Medium light.
Like, yeah, rods are categorized into power. So you got your ultralight, light, medium light. There's a whole thing. But like a light for your average Iowa fish, a light, medium light would be pretty good. And as far as line goes, I'd say 6 to 8 pounds. 6 to 8 pounds. It's a happy medium between castability and being able to fight big fish, because you're not necessarily going out to catch the biggest fish ever, but if you have 8-pound line, you could probably handle that fish. And then live bait for like newer anglers is a good lure to use. Just like a little small split shot and a hook, probably, I don't know, like a size 4 or 6. It's like it'll fit in most fish's mouth, and then it's easier to pull out. And then worms, minnows. Worms is probably the easiest bait that you can use, because they're kind of easy to keep. You just throw them in the fridge. Don't worry about them. Like with minnows, okay, you buy minnows, you try to take them home. You gotta keep them cool. You gotta keep them aerated. So I would say worms, and you'd be surprised. Like even for me, I just started using worms again, just going back to basics and catching like some pretty big fish, like 4 or 5 pound fish just on worms. And then, like I said, with your 6 to 8 pound line, you can handle that fish just fine. Or you can go after your bluegills like your kids caught.
Yeah, my kids got with my husband.
Yeah.
And
Did they use worms?
or
Do you know what type of bait they used, or did they use artificial stuff?
They put a worm with an artificial lure.
Okay.
That's
do
what
that.
my son told me.
You can
Okay.
you can definitely do
Doubled
that. But that's it. That's pretty much what you need. I mean, just you need a rod and reel, and like he was just saying, get the line, the hook, and worms would probably be the best starting point.
Yeah.
And then you can just you can catch bluegills like your kids were catching. But like Fishing Kid was saying, we were catching some monsters with just the worms on the bottom.
Wow.
We put a little bit of heavy weight on it on the hook, cast it out, left it there, and then we were catching big fish.
Yeah, and the general rule of thumb with rods is the longer the rod is, the easier it is to cast far.
Yeah.
If you're just casting, like let's say where that garage door is, you don't need a 8-foot long rod.
Yeah.
Right?
And don't let people get into your head about you got to get the best reel, you got to get this best rod. I mean, at the end of the day, most of these will catch a fish. It doesn't. You can go to
use
Walmart or small store, whatever the case. You can use a stick. For
Yeah,
all
long
that
stick with
matters.
some line, that'll catch a fish. But that it's just like any other hobby. You just go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
When it comes to spending stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Quality.
get the rod, get the reel, get the hook, and just get out. Honestly, just get the bait and just get out and start fishing. And then you just start learning and then talking to people like us. If you have questions, you can ask Fishing
Yeah,
Kid.
generally, like people that are fishing out there, if you see them catching fish and you're struggling, generally, people are nice enough.
Yes.
Especially, in Iowa. Iowa nice, right?
Iowa nice. There you go.
Generally, people are nice enough. They'll help you out. Like, hey, I'm not catching anything. What are you doing? Most people are, they'll help you out.
But like I said, just next time we come in, we'll schedule it so hopefully we'll take your kids out. We'll take somewhere. It'll be
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
We'll just go out for a little bit. But
That would be amazing.
I mean it's the greatest thing. My kids love fishing, so they love being outside and just playing. So it's a good thing to get the kids into, especially with what we have going on now. Last year, 2 years now, just being outside and being able to do something.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are going to appreciate fishing a little bit more. So it's kind of cool. So.
Survival skill.
Time on the water. That's a phrase in the fishing.
Yeah.
Like that's the phrase in the fishing community that gets thrown out all the time, but it's true. The best way to learn and I guess grow as an angler is time on the water, because the more time you spend, you're not going to go catch a fish every time you go out, but you learn, okay, every time you catch fish, this is what I did. And then if I could repeat that, that's what you would call a pattern. And then once you're able to pattern a fish, okay, next time you go out, okay, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna use this, I'm gonna do this, and then it just feels good. Okay, you go out with a plan, and then that plan goes through. Okay, I think I got this fishing thing figured out. Doesn't always plan out, like I said, but when it does, it's like, oh, something just clicks. You're like, yeah.
Experience.
You guys make this sound amazing. I'm gonna go.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Go.
fishing.
Do
I'm
it and
gonna
just
put
go.
in some time on
And
the.
you're gonna have days where God, this sucks because you
Yeah.
can't catch anything.
I
but
still have those days.
Yeah, we still have those days. I have those days all the time. But that's the thing, like he was just saying, you're gonna learn something, and you're like, okay, well, I'm not gonna do that again, or I'm not gonna go to that spot on that day, or whatever the case may be, the weather, whatever it may be. You're like, now you're starting to learn. You're adding things together. Like, okay, I shouldn't have went to that location maybe because they weren't there because of the wind. Not pushing this way, or not pushing the bait fish over here because the wind maybe is pushing this way. I should have went over here, type of thing. So those are the little things that you just start learning, and like you were saying, it's just time on the water. So
Yeah.
Natural sense of it.
Yep.
Yeah, fish in general, they'll have certain areas that they'll be at certain times of the year, but generally the fish are there. Just because you're not catching fish doesn't mean they're not there. You just got to figure out what you need to do as an angler to make them bite. Whether that's, make your lure longer, fish farther in the water column, as they say, or maybe you need if it's just sitting there and maybe they don't like that, or if you start moving your bait around, maybe that's what it is. And then if you could key in on what those little things are, that's what I guess make or break your day. If you can figure out what the fish want and you give it to them.
Don't be afraid to change and try new things. That's the thing he taught me. Like last couple of years, don't be afraid to try something new, just because it worked. Last year, right here,
Or
that
yesterday,
lure,
or last week.
doesn't necessarily is going to work today. So don't be afraid to try something. Switch it up. It could work. It could be to your benefit. Then now you know something new. You learn a new technique or a new lure that this is how I fish it.
Kind of like, I guess, marketing beer. Like, okay,
There you go.
I brought this beer and it ain't doing so well, but
That's
this
true.
other beer
But
I
yeah,
brought.
but they drink the IPAs.
Yeah.
I see. I noticed.
There
Yeah,
you go.
it's like fish and
Cool.
beer
Yeah,
psychology.
fishing people aren't too different, I guess.
In a way, no, you're right. So,
I didn't say that.
fishing gets at that.
Yeah, I
By the
said
way,
I'll own it.
gets at it. So, I mean, in closing, I this has been fun. We're gonna come back again. We were just talking offline. We Fishing Kid and myself, we're gonna come back out here definitely for fall. I definitely want to record again, and then definitely just come out here, drink the beer, and eat the restaurant. It's
If
awesome.
that's all right with you.
If that's
of
okay
course.
with you.
Oh, please come back. We have a lot more beers to try and.
Awesome. And I mean, this has been awesome. It's been fun. I learned a lot, not just from you, but learned a lot from Warren. Dub. We'll call him Dub. Learned a lot from him. It's just been a badass time for me. I mean, I loved it. My family came here. My daughter had her birthday here, so it was kind of cool. Kate, you got anything else for Christina?
Is there anything seasonal, like springtime, summertime? Is there anything coming up?
Well, Hefeweizen is out. Hefeweizen. I didn't name that one. Yeah, the blueberry Hefeweizen, the Honeycolsh free range. People keep asking us about Good Day Sunshine. Honey Wheat Ale, it's a favorite. It's a maybe. So maybe if you keep asking enough. Aloha. It's a pineapple
Actually, that's
Belgian.
the first Kalona beer I ever had.
Really?
Because I kind of, I shop at Hy-Vee a lot. They have a lot of local beers, and I just go there. Okay, I never had this one. Just start grabbing random stuff. I mean, granted, there's certain beers I like versus ones I don't. I'm not gonna grab a beer that I don't like, but
Yeah.
my first Kalona was the pineapple. And at first, usually I'm like, fruity beer. Then when I started drinking it, I was like, okay. That was my first beer here today too, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that makes me happy. I love that beer for a lot of reasons. It's a Belgian, and I'm extremely proud of our Belgians. I think our
Nice.
team and W does a really good job with that. It has real pineapple. It's steeped with pineapple. And it is called Aloha, Iowa, and we have a resident of Kalona named Pua who's lived in Kalona for years, but she's native Hawaiian.
Awesome.
And so she agreed to be on the can for us, so you'll see her beautiful face on the label with a pineapple. I cut the pineapple and I cut it Hawaiian style, and let me tell you, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's very complicated. So if you really look closely in the basket that Pua is holding, there's this pineapple that I spent like
That's awesome.
2 hours trying to.
I'm gonna have to
so.
really look at it now.
It's a special beer.
Cool. So definitely, guys, listeners, definitely go to Hy-Vee's. You guys are located. You guys, all the cans are in Hy-Vee in Central Iowa, Eastern Iowa, Southeastern Iowa.
We're on taps.
They're on taps. And then also, like I say, if you guys come to Southeast Iowa here, Eastern Iowa, you guys got to make sure stop by the brewery, stop by the restaurant. The restaurant's amazing. Especially if, you guys go to the Iowa game, Hawkeye games, football games. It's only 15, 20 minutes south. Make sure you guys swing by there and just tell them, what, BFF sent you guys. Come have a beer here. Meet the people here. It's really... I love the Iowa nights. My wife is from Colorado, and the thing about, and my in-laws are from Colorado. They go something about the Iowa nights, and you'll get it here. So swing by here. Your social media for Kalona Brewing. Where can they get in touch with you guys? Where can they follow you guys? What's all the good stuff about that?
We're on Facebook, Kalona Brewing Company. We're at Kalona Brewery at Twitter, and the same at Kalona Brewery at Instagram. And you can look on our website. There's a contact page, so you can always feel free to email me. I'm Christina, or check us out on social media and interact with us there. We love to do that. So or come in person and say hi. And we love to chat. So thank you both so much for coming and being here in the space. It makes us really happy. Thank you.
Thanks for sponsoring us.
Yeah, thanks for sponsoring. And
my
thanks for
pleasure.
just having us here.
Thanks for giving us the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And giving us the knowledge about beer, about one thing that we love. At least, we love. We love it. Other than that, guys, till next time.
All right. See ya.
Cheers.